Hello, you beautiful people. How are you? I'm John Solo. I did not update the ticker, so let's get rid of that thing. We don't need it today. We are doing the Talk to the Beard show, and it's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen anyone. We have had, I don't know, 3 or 5 gigs or something like that in the last 7 days. We've had some personal things going on in the background as well. Everything is okay, but has to do with an animal of a friend, and it's too long to get into today. But we are here. We are working. I will be working by myself. And this will be for at least the next week to 10 days, somewhere in that range. Also, I would like to dedicate this show today to our lovely Tracy Johns. Tracy Johns is having a procedure done today. We love her to pieces, and hopefully everything is, we know it's going to be all right on the other side. I'm going to bring on my guest today, but I would like to let you know that I've been traditionally reading the guest's bio. This guest has been on here before, Miss Chloe Archer. And the thing that I like about her the most is the graciousness that she showed an unprofessional lout like me the last time she came on. I'm going to bring her on now. Everybody welcome Miss Chloe Archer. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing today, please?
Oh, John, let me tell you, I am freaking fabulous. I had a massage earlier today, so I am walking on sunshine and rainbows.
That is so
Feeling
good.
fabulous.
I have to tell you, and then I'm going to follow it up with a question. I've never had a massage in my life. It's certainly not,
No.
never even professionally done, let alone even on a personal level. I just have not felt very comfortable with it. Tell me what you like about the
Mm.
massages the most.
Well, I think, especially if you spend a lot of time sitting for your day job, all kinds of muscles can get really tight and contracted, especially the older you get. And so I find kind of going and getting a massage really helps sometimes with just the physical side of, pain or discomfort I might be having. But I'm also able to kind of like get into a very zen kind of mental headspace where I just like really relax and focus on my body and, trying to get rid of stress, get rid of, anything that might be weighing me down. And massage kind of facilitates some of that for me.
That is, I spend a lot of my time trying to get into, let's say, a Zen-like state.
Yeah.
I practice certain things which calm my mind down
Mm.
because I like not to take I like not to take massive amounts of alcohol like I used to do in the past to solve that problem. Um,
Yeah.
that being said, I've never heard of a massage being done to that. Are you? This is going to be very specific. Are you
Okay.
concentrating on a body part as you are getting massaged and concentrating on the muscles and the tendons
Mm.
and trying to loosen everything up, or are you trying to let that go? How do you treat it?
Sometimes it kind of depends. So I have a massage therapist who does kind of a combination of like deep tissue massage, which is a lot more intense, and kind of like slightly lighter or sort of more Swedish massage, I guess you could say. When I'm getting like the Swedish element done, I can kind of just sort of, float more in my mind, I guess you could say. When the deep tissue's happening, though, I'm very focused on the area that is being worked. Can be kind of painful while it's happening, but like the release afterwards is what you're sort of aiming for, essentially. So for me, I do yoga and some other stuff, and so for me, it's usually pretty easy to kind of relax in a situation like that if I don't have a whole bunch of external stimuli going on. It's
Mhm.
usually like dark lighting in the massage room, and it's kind of like some very kind of chill music. And so that's enough for me to kind of get into the headspace. But I know it can be harder for other people.
Mhm. I've I. I thought that I have practiced yoga. It seems to me that
Hmm.
the more I try and practice it, the less I know about it. The more I, it's if that makes any sense at all. I've
Yeah.
attempted to really dumb down the number of poses I'm even trying at this point to see if I can maybe get
Mm.
good at a couple of them.
Mm.
What do you do for your yoga practice?
Well, I actually do a lot more of what's called yin yoga. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
I'm
yin.
not.
There's this great YouTuber, Cassandra with a K, who has all these free yoga videos, and she has a whole sequence that's all on yin. I first learned about yin in a class a number of years ago, and I thought, what is this? I'll try this, because I'd done vinyasa, I'd done flow, I'd done, all the other types. But yin yoga is also sometimes called restorative yoga, and it tends to be, it's not as much of a cardio kind of workout. It's more of a intense, like, stretching session. So you do fewer poses, but you hold them for longer periods of time. So you might get in like a classic child's pose or something like that, but you may stay there for like 3 to 5 minutes. And so part of it is like the longer you hold the pose and allow the muscle to kind of slowly relax, the more kind of benefit you get in terms of not only kind of calming yourself, but like letting the muscle let go. Because I think we hold a lot of tension in our bodies and our minds with, the way that being an adult works, um, for most of us anyway. And so I think that that's kind of the benefit you get from it. But there's some great beginner videos, so I highly recommend them.
I have when I first started, the program was called Man Flow Yoga, and
Oh,
the
wow.
development of it was from an athlete that had
Mm,
some muscle tears, which can be pretty pain. I guess I've never had one, but
yeah.
the way he described them, so he was trying to recover, and he
Mm,
ran into someone doing yoga. He took a class or two. He eventually discovered that this might be beneficial for the other people on his sports ball team, and he
yeah.
brought a few other people to try the same thing. What he discovered, and this is again why I don't know that much about yoga, but this guy discovered
Mm.
that men are freaking inflexible. As a general
Mm.
rule, um, that we have parts in the way of certain flexibility, and that it's easier for me to watch a man do some of these poses sometimes. Has nothing to
Yeah.
do with a quality or anything like that, but you don't have
Mm.
testicles, I don't think, and I do.
Right. No.
They so he in plus on top of that, I've not spent any portion of my life up until the last 7 years or so trying to be flexible at all. I'm a big hairy dude,
Mm.
so it was really useful to get me introduced. But then I realized there's so much
Mm.
more to it. There's not
Yeah.
only the physical distraction, and you're giving your body and you're attempting to
Hmm.
flex all these things out, but you're also attempting to focus at the same time. And
Yes.
the breathing is perhaps I've
Yes.
discovered one of the most important aspects of this. Um, and it
Hmm.
provides focus. Do you have a particular way of breathing? You mentioned vinyasa. I've tried that as well.
Right. I don't know that it has a particular name, but it's kind of like the belly breathing that they kind of recommend, where you inhale and through your belly, and then you kind of hold it for a second or two, and then you let it out, and you have a longer kind of exhale. And you do that kind of for ideally at least a couple of minutes. And I saw this really interesting story where they were talking about like a study they did where people who do this kind of mindful breathing, even for just like 5 minutes a day, had similar benefits in terms of lowering their blood pressure to like certain types of medication. Because it can be like, if you really focus on it, and it can calm everything down, and really work on reducing stress. So if I'm having major anxiety or stress going on in my life, I tend to up my breathing activities to try to account for that. But yeah, I think yoga kind of emphasizes this idea of like, you inhale and you're kind of like bringing good into you, and you're exhaling out the bad a lot of times. And that's sort of, I think, a general kind of principle. I'm also not an expert by any means, but I think that there's also a lot of emphasis on trying to like bring in oxygen to those parts of the body you're stretching to help them loosen, and then release everything that you don't need. And it can take a long time to actually get into the headspace where you're really receptive to that, but it can yield wonderful benefits if you can.
I have found in my practice that I'm unable to observe my growth in a pose unless I get my
Mm.
breathing done properly, unless
Ah.
That's my measurement stick. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but during a
Mm,
breath, if let's say I know I'm going to have 4 complete inhales and exhales on a pose, I can tell by the
yeah.
stress level that I have in that pose on the number of breaths that I have. Like, let's say I get to number 3 and it's still rough today, but yesterday it
Mm,
wasn't. I know that something has happened. It allows me to pay attention and allows me to give a quantitative measurement. If that maybe that's
mhm.
redundant saying those two things together. I like to sound smart. Uh, um, the breathing is so important, and to
Yeah.
me, I've been doing it the
Mm.
last 7 to 10 days. We've had a very stressful 7 to 10 days around the
Mm.
Bricker household, and I've
I
been
bet.
doing a lot of breathing. Um, uh,
Yeah.
do you? This is going to sound off the wall. When you are having these breathing exercises and when you're doing your
Mm.
yoga, do you ever find that I find afterwards a clear
Mm.
head allows me to then have a great intuition on my creative projects and endeavors? You ever find
Mm.
that influences the way you write, the way you interact with your characters?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it can sometimes unblock me if I'm feeling kind of uncertain. Any kind of actually physical activity does this for me. Like I had been stuck on part of a project that I was working on the other day, and I went and did water aerobics at this outdoor pool in the morning. And I shit you not, 7 ideas like popped in my head, like one after the other. And I'm like, okay, so I have the next 10 chapters figured out, but then I was like, damn it, I'm in the water. Like, how am I going to remember all of these? And so, like, the whole time I was there, I had to do this whole like mental mnemonic device in my mind to kind of be like, okay, have a word for each one so I can kind of try to remember what these 7 ideas are going to be. But I do think that oftentimes, many times, any kind of physical activity where you're getting the heart rate up, you're often not you're focused more on inward and in your body, and you're not focusing on everything else around you and all the things you're worried about. And so I think that sometimes that can just help liberate part of your creativity. And so for me, I will often do like yin yoga before bed because it helps me sleep better, and then I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be really fresh to kind of work on something new. So yeah, absolutely.
My apologies. I realized I my wife just sent me a lovely article. I looked down. I was like,
Ooh.
"Oh, look at that!" But it dinged through, and I realized that luckily I had my microphone muted, so you didn't hear it. But I
Mm.
looked over here and I felt distracted for a second. The the when I am going through my process with a character, my process changes on a day-to-day basis. I approach a character
Okay.
the same way. That being said, my mood alters the way that I am treating that character. If that
Mm.
makes any sense, I
Yeah.
need to have a clean palette, like we were discussing earlier, and you kind of referred to this. I like that concept a lot, and able to do our work justice.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, my world does not work that way all the time, and sometimes the clutter comes in
Mm.
and gets a bit
Yeah.
distracting. Um, Thank you for discussing that with me, and thank you for going on and on and on about
Oh,
yoga too,
sure.
because I love the topic.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, I think a lot of I'm a mood writer as well as like a mood reader, and so there are various things that I do to try to get in the right headspace for what I'm working on. I
mhm.
also find, I don't know if this works for you as well, but music really helps me. That I will sometimes have particular types of music that, for whatever reason, really resonate with specific characters that I'm working on. And so if I'm stuck, I'll put on some of that music, and then I'm like vibing with the character again, and I can get back into that headspace.
That's I've actually been toying with the idea again. I've used this process
Mm.
before of playing music in one ear while I'm doing my
Oh.
work. There's a technicality with what I do that gets in the way of that. It's my
Mm.
process, but regardless, it works really really well, and I love it because of the mood setting of it. um,
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of jump topics here a bit.
Oh, sure. No
You
problem.
are, and I've watched a bit of this. I actually reached out to you and told you you're doing a podcast that's similar to what
Yes.
we're attempting to do
Sort of a
here.
vidcast, I guess, technically, but
Well, and I would love to learn some of your process. I would like to learn from you. I've been doing this a little while, but there are certain aspects of it that I You are so calm. It's one of the things that
Oh,
I absolutely love about you. You propel this calmness, and I'm just curious to kind of walk through your process of a podcast. You've booked a
mm,
guest, you've got a date covered.
yeah.
I'm assuming you send out information. What I'm going to get technical too. I also want to know what software you're using, and I'd like to know the
Mm.
process of the guest. Do you record the day of? Do you give yourself time to edit? Please tell me every little thing. Thank you.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, I mostly started the podcast because as a new writer, I really wanted to get to meet other authors and other creators within LGBTQ plus romance. I'm hoping to get some audiobook narrators and some cover artists on the show at some point. And I thought this would be a great way to do it. And, as you know, there's only a handful really of podcasts right now within LGBTQ romance. And so I wanted to, throw my hat in the ring. I decided I was going to do it really low tech so that I wouldn't have to pay any costs, at least starting out. If the show gets to a point where it justifies some kind of an upgrade, then I would like think about that. But essentially, what I do is I do one episode a month because I still have a full time day job, and there's only so many I can kind of squeeze in. And I do everything myself. So I book whoever's going to be on the show. And what I'll do is I will send them a Google Doc that has several different categories of general topics with a whole bunch of different question options in it. And then I will let them pick a few questions in each category that they would feel comfortable talking about on the show. I have them send me their bio, cover of whatever book they want to promote on the episode, and links to their socials and all the stuff that they want me to put in the show notes, essentially. Then when we have um, our episode, we don't go live. Instead, I pre-record and I just use Zoom, and I record to a cloud, and I have to wait until the file uploads there, then I download it, and I use a really fairly simple editing program I have familiarity with for my day job called Camtasia. And I edit the episode, add on kind of an intro component, the outro. I will include like inserting the graphic within the episode so we can see what the cover looks like when we're talking about their book. And then I will upload that to a Google Drive, and I will share that with the guest several days before I'm going to upload it to YouTube. I do give them the opportunity, if they have small things within my ability to edit, if they want me to cut something or whatever, I do give them a little bit of opportunity for that. Once they give me the green light, then I will upload it to YouTube, and that's free. And then I just sort of share the episodes through the Facebook page. I give a link to the guests so they can share on their social media, in their newsletters, those kinds of things. And that's basically how it works.
That was fantastic. I feel I always there's a sense of guilt, and it's self-imposed when I ask a
Hmm.
question like that of tell me all the facets of something that you do, and it's because I feel this compulsion that I've not been direct enough. But I really like leaving it so open-ended because I got a lot that I don't think that I would have gotten if I would have tried a pointed question. Um,
Oh,
w-
sure.
One of which is a follow-up. What
Okay.
and this could be seen as too personal, so please feel free to direct it wherever you want. What has this podcast done for your career? You're not very far into the. I think you have 4, 5, 6 episodes somewhere in there. Is that correct, or are you past that at this point?
Actually, we have 8 up
8.
right
My
now.
apologies.
Yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, in light of that, what has it done so far?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think these things are often really difficult to kind of measure in a super tangible way. I think that it has largely provided me with a bigger network of other authors that I know a lot better now from having
Oh,
had a chance to interview them. And it's easier to come back to them and approach them with other opportunities or ideas because I already have that connection with them. Um, I think that it has maybe gotten my name out there a little bit more with some people, but I'm not on all the, Spotify and all those kind of platforms. I'm not paying to have it hosted or anything like that. So my audience is probably comparatively small. Like we're still just under 100 in the Facebook group. So I mean, I hope it will grow over time for sure, because I think it's a great way for readers and even aspiring authors to interact with other people who are working within the genre and to learn from them. But for me, it also helps me keep my pulse or my finger on the pulse a little bit of like what's going on. Like, how do authors do certain things, especially for me as a newer author? I talk to a range. I talk to other newbies who are sometimes experiencing similar, like, uncertainties with certain things that I'm dealing with. And then I speak with others who are like veterans who have been doing this for a really long time and they can tell you all the ins and outs of different things. So I think that that's really great. It's given me some interesting opportunities for sort of like cross promotion with stuff. For instance, in September, I'm going to be doing some special kind of roundtable episodes with some of my fellow authors who are in the Fated Mates Paranormal Romance charity anthology that's coming out. And so that includes people like Kiki Clark and Megan Maslow and many others. And I'm looking forward to talking with all of them. But, because I was in the collection with them, I sort of pitched this idea, hey, would you guys like to do some roundtables on my show? We could talk a little bit about our stories and how we got involved in the collection and why this is a really great cause. And a whole bunch of them were on board.
you outlined better than I ever could have. Good job. Thank you. Um, uh, you said in the beginning that it is hard to, I'm going to use the word quantitative because I like to use big words. It's hard to quantify the effect that it's had. But then you were able to
Mm.
list off quite a few things that have certainly jumped out. A good friend of I think both of ours at this point, Mia Monroe's in the crowd live today, and she just
Yeah.
said, "I'll chime
Oh,
in and
hi,
say
Mia.
it's gotten her name to be familiar with her peers, um, which is
Ah,
something that I and I'm going to interject with my own little experience here. I've not been at this a
yeah.
long time, and this is a very small show that you're on right now, but
Mm.
it Talk to the Beard and the Rambling Grambling show has spread my name to a number of people that I don't think
Yeah.
maybe would have known who I was otherwise. Um,
Hmm.
that being said, I had a great experience recently where a guest was on my show and afterwards said, "Oh, by the way, I heard that you are a narrator," and then proceeded to ask a question, which really reminded me of
Mm.
exactly what this show is. I do it
Mhm.
to spread my name to peers. That has
Yeah.
obviously had that effect on you and your show. Now, how scared were you when you got your first
Mm.
guest and you tried to put this show together?
um, Not at all.
Perfect.
I'm a
God,
very
I'm
odd.
interrupting you. I love you. Thank you. I love you. Please go ahead. I will shut up now.
No, I'm a little bit of an odd duck. I am more extroverted, I think, probably than some authors. I'm not a Megan Maslow level extrovert, but I'm comparatively extroverted. And I have experience from my day job in putting together video content for audiences. And so for me, it was a natural kind of fit. It didn't feel like it was something intimidating. And my first couple of guests were people I already knew within the community, some of whom I kind of came up with at the same time in our writing journeys, that we have a little writing group together. others like Megan Maslow, I have known since like 2014. We met as readers at GRL initially and became friends before Megan ever got published and stuff like that. And so, you know, that's kind of how it started for me. But, you know, I life is too short, I think, to constantly sit and worry about things. You just kind of have to, you know, take charge and go and do them. And so, you know, I'm pretty shameless. I'll just like reach out to authors on Facebook and be like, hey, I run this show. I think you're great and I'd love to have you on. Let me know if you'd like to come on. I try to keep it really, you know, conversational and fun and friendly and, you know, lighthearted. And I'd love for you to join. And if they're not into it, that's cool, you know, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Nobody's ever been like, how dare you ask me about this, right? They're always like really touched. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, they say yes. So,
Now, when you have a guest on, what
mm,
would you, you know what? I'm going to back up for a second because I got to tell you once
sure.
again how much I enjoy you. And the reason I enjoy you is because
Thank you.
I look for inspiration in people like you. You've got such a lovely energy.
Mm,
You're so calm, but you're so excited
thank
at the
you.
same time. That's somehow a contradiction. Um, if someone were interested in being on your podcast, being a guest on it,
Yeah.
first off, how would one approach you? Is it Facebook Messenger, snail mail? Do they throw a airplane and hope to paper hit you?
Right. Um, you know, I'm moderately tech savvy, so most of, you know, for me, yeah, Facebook Messenger, emailing me, any of those would be great options. So far, I've been the one who's just been going out and asking people, but yeah, if folks are interested and they'd love to come on the show, you know, I try to coincide episodes with like a month that somebody has a new release, like within relative proximity that they can promote. It's not required, but you know, I try to accommodate that way if I can. But yeah, I right now I am booked through October, but I have all the months after that open right now. So I'm really, you know, cool with anybody reaching out who wants to be on the show. I'm super excited to hear from folks who are like, "Oh, I watched this show and I want to be on it."
Well, I took a bit of a different. Well, you know, we don't plan any of these.
Mm,
I
yeah,
don't give you questions or anything like that. But this kind of felt where the
sure.
conversation was going, and I realized that before me lies a unique opportunity here. Another person
Mm,
that's jumped in and put their hat in the ring of doing a very genre specific to a genre that I work podcast, and there's not many of them
mm,
out there. There are some though, like you said,
yeah.
and one more, to my mind, is a
Mm,
wonderful thing. I think five more
yeah.
would be even better. And I would love
Right.
to see people do it. I would love to see
Mhm.
people approach you to come onto your show. I would love to
Mm.
be on your show myself. I would love to watch the show.
Yeah.
I really enjoy. I think that we can raise the tide for everyone, and I think it's a wonderful
Yeah.
thing. That being said, when
Mm,
I quite a few times since I've
mm,
started working this show and doing Talk to the Beard and the Rambling Ramble, people have reached out to me and asked, how do you produce it? How do you do these technical things that
mm.
look like magic to me, John? Um, I attempt my best to help them out. It sounds like you have a much more simplified process than I do. Me being who I
Yeah.
am, I don't do anything easy. Are you willing as well, if someone's in the crowd or watches this show and they're like, you know what,
Mm,
I'm an author or a narrator or somebody that's really interested in the MM genre, I'm a fan, and I want to do something like this.
mm.
Would you be willing, if they reached out, to potentially, give some free information to them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think being in this genre, it's not about competition. It's about, yeah, lifting each other up. I mean, I think that in general my experience in MM has been pretty utopian. Like people have been generally really wonderful, incredibly supportive, um, you know, and willing to take chances on, for instance, new authors like myself, right? And I think that I have met so many truly gracious, writers who have been doing this for a really long time, who have incredibly busy schedules, who are willing to stop and take a moment to help somebody else, to offer some advice, to give some input on how they've done things and how they've tackled certain problems. And, I want to be able to give that back as well because it was so meaningful to me, the people who did that for me and who continue to do that for me, that I think, you have to kind of return that good karma in a positive way. And I want to see other great authors flourish too, because I'm a reader as well. And like, I want to be able to read fun works from new authors. And if I can help them get the confidence to do these kinds of things, then I'm happy to lend some time and support.
I realized after asking that question how rude it could
Hmm.
be construed. So my apologies. My intent was not to be like, would you help somebody else? Tell the crowd now. And if not, lie so we don't think less of you. It was nothing like that. Um, but I think it's important. Opportunities like this for us to get to know you as an author gives, as you just said, newer people that have not read you yet the opportunity to perhaps get to know you, your personality, and
Yeah.
maybe whether they'd like to even go check out your work in the first place. Those
Mhm.
seeds spread a lot further sometimes than some of the
Yes.
placed Amazon ads and that sort of thing. That's my feeling on it.
Right.
I think it's a wonderful thing. I also think that there are a lot of other people that are going to watch this and listen to it that have the capability
Mm.
to do something like you are doing and something like I am doing, and I
Mhm.
think that that would help
Yeah.
all of us. So my uh,
Oh,
my
for
my
sure.
my call out is please, for the love of God, go do a podcast. It's also
Yeah.
this genre is very inclusive, and everybody that I've ever had on the show
Yeah.
has been so incredibly friendly, wonderful. No one's ever
Yes.
told me to fuck off, aside from
Right.
perhaps Tracy. Anya, well, there's a couple, but other than that, anyways, I love you. Thank you for coming on. I do
Oh, thank
appreciate your
you.
time.
Likewise.
It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the crowd before we get out of here?
Oh, sure. Well, I have a whole bunch of stuff coming for folks to kind of keep an eye out for. Book three in my series just came out in May, the Tentacular Tale series. Audiobook number two, Can't Help Falling in Love with an Alien, narrated by Greg Boudreau, is coming out very, very soon. Audible has told me, 10 business days, so it should be here by no later than Friday, the 21st of July, so keep an eye out for that. I'm hoping that, as long as it does well, I can book him for audiobook number three as soon as possible. And then I'm starting a new series called Monsters Hollow. It is a cozy monster romance series, and the prequel novella called The Bogeyman and the School Teacher came out as part of the class of 22-23 prolific works giveaway in June, and it's now up for pre-order on Amazon for anybody who missed that limited time opportunity. I have another novella in the series coming out in the Fated Mates charity anthology called The Demon and the Librarian. And then the first full-length novel in the series, The Orc and the Manny, comes out September 22nd, and that one is also up on pre-order, and it's basically a series that is more of a light, fluffy, rom-commy, monsters falling in love with humans and vice versa. I'm not really a dark writer, so I'm kind of more of the funny, fluffy, and that's what it's going to be. So I hope people will check it out if that's their jam.
That sounds the orc and the Manny sounds good job. I yeah, you had me at the title. Thank you so much for coming on. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. Everyone,
thank you
thanks for
for
hanging
having
out.
me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This is the easy part. All we got to do is wave at the camera. Everyone, I will see you soon.
Okay.
And Tracy Johns, I love you too.